Hello, welcome to MCTV 43. This is editing. If you're expected more people to be here, but okay, it's a high flex class. What does that mean? That means you can come in person into the computer lab here on campus. You can watch and join via Zoom, or you can watch the recording and follow along as well. So lots of different methods to take this class, but what's important is I firmly believe that the best way to succeed in this class is a learn by doing approach. So you will need to plan on just watching my lectures, just isn't gonna, just participating in the discussions isn't gonna cut the mustard. You actually are going to be editing. And in fact, your grades are based off of projects that we'll talk about. So fun, hopefully fun editing. So what is editing? Well, editing, of course, is the putting together of images into a sequence. Who can tell me what's an example of something that's not edited that we might consume? Content. Think of content that's not edited.
Basketball games, sports.
Well, sports games. So basketball games, sports. I hate to tell you, we are cutting from camera to camera. So the director who's doing the event may be live, but it is being edited in the sense that cut to camera one, we're going to a close-up, cut to a wide shot, cut to commercial. Those are all edits, right? So good thought. What do you think, Jeremiah?
Gaming live streaming.
Gaming live streaming, yeah, that's a better example of something that's unedited because it tends to be one single image. Now, the issue there is the person is making edit choices in what they present to us. A more basic stream, which is just like, here's the gameplay and you're watching it, that's probably an unedited content. But if it's something that's like one of the bigger streamers, they're changing camera angles, they're going in, they're talking over it, even having themselves as the little box, and the audio being them choosing whether or not to turn their mics on or off. Those are all edits. So, but a gaming stream is a good example. If we're watching security footage, like a CRT camera that's up there, that's really the option or the thing that is edited the least. Now, who's just going to sit there and watch a security camera that has no audio for 24 hours? Because also, if we watch a movie, there's some movies where they play with the concept of like, this is unedited footage or this is found footage, but it's still edited. We'll jump in time or whatever. Those are all edits. So that's choice. The editor is the person that's making the choice to help tell the story. Right? And in filmmaking, that's super important because I know some of you have filmed your own things and you know that like in order to make something, we'll shoot a lot and then cut it down to a little. And I have a background in documentary filmmaking, and that's a total editor's paradise if you like editing, because with documentary, the shooting ratio can be, you shoot 100 hours for 1 hour worth of movie, because you never know what you're going to capture with your content. And you hope that like, hey, my shooting ratio is, I don't have to shoot, you're not going to shoot 2 hours and then cut it into a 2-hour movie, is what I'm trying to say. Also, I should say this again. I don't know if I said my name at the beginning, but I'm Tim. You can call me Tim, that's fine. Tim Allen. I have been editing since I graduated. I was a Gav student, and I've been video editing or editing, film editing, since I graduated from San Diego State in 2002. So 20 years of editing. I started out as an Avid editor. I then became a Final Cut editor, then transitioned to being a Adobe Premiere editor, and now I'm in the process of learning DaVinci Resolve. So there's a lot of different types of editing software, and we'll talk about what is required from you in this class. I am also a person who absolutely loves feedback, hands up, being raised. It's say, hey, Tim, stop, answer this question. I love being interjections or questions or comments, but there you go. We meet every Monday and Wednesday. We're going to meet, I'll be here on campus. We are in the library, room 128, where you can come and have access to the computers. What I do, we're listed the classes from 2:20 to 3:45 technically, but I will stay and keep the lab open for editing if you want to edit till 5 p.m. both those days. And if you want access to the computer lab, we can work with Geronimo Garcia, who's the facilities manager, and get you in here when we can. Either Grant Richards or I will access that. Now, let's talk about that. Let's go over the syllabus. I'm going to share my screen. All right. And just for everyone to see. No, use. Okay. And then Angel, I know you're one of the, you're our only Zoomer right now. Feel free if I say I'm going to share the screen and you don't see it being shared to speak up. I've gone full classes where
I can see it.
Great, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm just going to tell you, in the past, I've talked for 20 minutes and the person be like, oh, I can't see anything. I'm like, let's do it all over again. So just, I make mistakes like anybody else, but okay. So I have here listed my contact information first and foremost. I also have Grant's information. If you haven't taken, Grant Richards is the head of the film department. And just in case you want to rat me out on something I've done or complain, well, actually, no, Grant will also be able to give you access to the computer lab or answer any questions. He's a great teacher. I actually had him when I was a student here as well. So I highly recommend, I like to include his, and he's generous to include his contact information. I'm a part-time instructor here. So that means I don't really have office hours. I list my office hours as the time I'm here. So you can talk to me before or after. I'm willing to stay. I'm also willing to connect with you via Zoom if you want to have a discussion. Just please reach out. This is my cell phone number. Feel free to first of all, if you have an issue, this is just common courtesy, right? Text. All right. If it's important, you can call, but you're more likely, I'm going to respond right away. If it's a text and like give you a thumbs up, or I will respond. If you call and leave me a voicemail, I'll be like, oh, why'd they leave me a voicemail? Now I got to listen to a voicemail. Why didn't you just text? But really, please don't call because I do have 3 kids. And if you call after a certain point of time, I may be putting them to bed or asleep. Yes, I wake up early. This is I love teaching at GAF. My other job is I'm the multimedia director at Christopher Ranch, which is the garlic company here in Gilroy. So I do all of their marketing and sales, video production. So if I'm not here at GAV, I'm probably there dealing with garlic. So if you can't reach me right away, I'm dealing with important garlic issues, and I'll let you. Please text. And also what I would really recommend, if you text me, please include what your name is, because I do get a bunch of random students. I will tend to add your name to it, but it'll be like, hey, Tim, where are you? And it'll be like, who are you? Like, I don't know. Sorry, no offense. Who are you? So it's always good to be like, hey, I'm in your class, especially if we haven't worked on productions before. So, all right. Let's see. Also, the film department, I am just going to do this ad for the film department. We offer many other classes, especially this semester. Spring semester is the only time you can take video editing. We only offer it once a year, as well as screenwriting, which Grant and I team teach together. Those are, if you're thinking about getting your degree, you should be in both of those. get your certification here at GAV. You should take both of those so you don't have to wait till a year from now when they're offered again. That being said, I really, if you're only taking this class, I really recommend thinking about taking one of the other classes, specifically our film production class, which meets on Thursdays and Fridays, is the best class in the film department, in my opinion, and I like this class a lot. But we make a movie every week. It's really fun, and it's great because you could shoot something there that you can then edit here in this class. Feel free to ask me more questions about that afterwards if you are interested at all. All right, required equipment. All right, so for those of you, you need the ability to edit. And so we edit digitally here, right? So that means what is called non-linear editing. It's non-linear because you could edit your piece in any order. Back when I was in school, we had to do linear editing. Who thinks they know what linear editing is? A line, one direction, right? So, yeah, Santi. Oh, gee. From start to finish, right? So, Marty, what does that mean?
You have to edit film.
You have to edit film. So the way they used to edit film was they would actually, film the film, print out the actual film, which we've all probably seen what film looks like. In fact, let's just not assume. Actually, here we go. There's garlic right there. Film stock. All right. So film, you can see, just looking at this is a great example of this right here. So film stock is that. And so you can see these little squares right up here. That actually is what was loaded in. And we may or may not know, but film is a medium that is basically the capturing of a single image 24, 30 times per second. And then when you put the image, when you play the images or project the images in a row, it simulates movement, right? And so when we're filming something, we're filming an image or a frame, basically 24 times for a second. So when I move my hand, there's a frame of this, and then we put it together and we actually see the movement. That's the basics of how film was invented. Now, for the editing, you would take the camera, you would film with your camera, it would go through and you would develop your film, just like those of us who remember what old film was. But basically, you would get all of your images looking something like this, and those were your negatives. Then you would take your negatives and you would make your edits. Now, if you watch something like a Charlie Chaplin movie or an old movie, they basically would get one print of their film and make the edits. And then guess what? How would they make it? Scissors. You literally cut where you want to put the edit, then you cut somewhere else and you join it together with a piece of tape. We're not going to do that here because film is expensive and doesn't really exist anymore and isn't practical. I got to do this when I was in college, and it was fun. And you would learn that, like, oh, like the tape would fall apart and then your movie would get messed up, or you would make an edit and then you'd have to like join it back together because you'd make a wrong edit. So that is linear editing. So it's but even that, this even would apply for, okay, I'm gonna age myself some more. I'm talking about film. Now let's talk about a VCR. We all know what a VCR is. There's the square cassettes. They're basically what DVDs were. You know what DVDs are? They're circles that, basically think of streaming, but imagine if you put it on like a round circle and you had to put it in the thing and it streamed off of the circle thing. That's a DVD. So then the DVD before that was all put on a VHS cassette, which was basically film wound into cassettes that would be played. Now, we used to, here at GAV, edit linearly from VCR to VCR. It would be called deck to deck. They're called VTRs is the more technical terms. So how would we make the edits? Well, we would film everything and we would get a big VCR. We put one in, we'd have a second one, and you'd basically have to edit in order of your story. So you'd have to plan out, what is shot one? Okay, let's fast forward to shot one and then hit record and hit play. And then your tape would record that first shot and then you would stop. And then you would go, okay, let's find our second shot. So it was a lot of logging your tape. And now, because we are digitally editing, everything's shot, put on a card, loaded onto a hard drive, and then our hard drive gets put into the computer. I said all of this for what reason? To say you need a computer to be able to edit in class. Now, if you don't have a computer, you can come and use the computers here in the computer lab. And the computer lab will give you access to the software, which are, if you are editing at home, you're required to use an editing software to do your edits. Now, I will tell you right now, I mentioned all of my credentials as far as like knowing what I'm editing, but our focus here, we will get tastes of we'll get tastes of Final Cut X, we'll get tastes of Adobe Premiere, we'll get tastes of DaVinci Resolve, and some After Effects. Those are what we're gonna learn a little bit of, but I will primarily be doing most of my examples in Adobe Premiere because that's the one that I'm an expert in. If you want to, let me know and say, hey, Tim, can I use this other software? You're welcome to. Just know that I'm going to be teaching principles and going into details in all of these. And I feel like the student who is interested in any of those three that I mentioned are better serviced because I can speak to how they're used. If you use something that maybe I don't know, I can tell you concepts and I can help you figure it out, but I'm not going to be an expert in those softwares. And I will even rank, I will say, I know a lot about Adobe Premiere. I know Final Cut X, and I'm still in the process of learning DaVinci Resolve. So it's a new one I'm adding this semester because a lot of students like that one. So you are required to have software. Now let's talk about the pros and cons. What software do I want to choose? Well, it's really up to you. Industry standard, what do they use in Hollywood? Well, it is different. It's based off of what you're doing. And it's really based off of the editor. Premiere was industry standard for a while. Avid was an industry standard for a while. And DaVinci Resolve is growing in editing software. So it's really based off of the editor, what you want to learn. It's like the difference between choosing a Mac or a PC. And like a Mac or a PC, you're choosing what you want to use based off of how it looks, how it works for you. And there are pros and cons. So I will tell you, I may be a little biased towards Adobe Premiere. So I'll tell you the pros and the cons. And I'll go through all of them. If you want to be an Adobe Premiere editor, what is the first major pro? The major pro is it works on any computer. You can have, if you have a PC, if you have a Mac, as long as it's got enough computing power and RAM, you can run it. Can you run it on a Chromebook? No, sorry. Chromebooks are going to be probably not useful for video editing just because they tend not to have enough RAM. But if you have a base level PC or base level Mac, you can run Adobe Premiere. All right. It is, okay, here is what I hear is a con. But I'll tell you why it's a pro, actually. Adobe Premiere is a subscription-based model. So I don't force you to get a book in here, but I will force you to get software. So if you want to look at that as, hey, I'm going to pay for quote unquote a book, you could pay for the student license of Adobe. And what's that? That's like a 20 bucks a month. So 60 bucks for the semester. again, there's other options. I'll tell you about it. You don't have to do this. I see it as you can cancel at any point. It's subscription based. And what's great about Adobe is if you pay for the license, you get all their licenses. What does that mean? You have access to Photoshop, you have access to Acrobat, InDesign, After Effects, Audition. We'll talk about some of those side ones. All of them that do help. I use Photoshop, I use Audition, I use After Effects a lot in my video editing. Okay. But it costs. So, okay, it's subscription. The second you stop paying, you don't have access to it anymore. What's great about Premiere is you get 2 seeds, basically. So what I would not suggest is you could split a license as long as you, wait, I'm not saying this, right? I'm not saying this. But you could potentially, if I gave you my login, you could probably log in on your computer and I'd log in on my computer. As long as we didn't log in on a third computer, no one would get kicked off, is what I'm saying, right? But I use my license on my laptop and my iMac at home. That's the point of having 2 seeds per license. You get everyone gets what I'm saying? Not what not to do? Okay. Adobe or Final Cut X, pros and cons. Final Cut X is a one-time purchase. So let me think. I believe it's $100. Let's see. I hope it's not going to tell me because I already have it. All right, let's just Google it then. I believe it's $100. I can be wrong. Let's go back here. Let's pull this up. Actually, this one. Final Cut X price. There you go. Whoa, $300, one-time fee. So that's like DaVinci Resolve. Okay. There's a 90-day free trial. Well, there's also a free trial for Premiere, 30-day free trial. So that's all. Customer service call. That will happen a couple times. Okay, I lost my window. There we go. See, you know what? That's my problem. Is all right. This is Apple. So Final Cut. This is, I think, the #1 drawback for Final Cut X. Other than I also don't like how the layout and how it looks, and it frustrates me. I think the #1 drawback is it is Mac only. So please don't purchase it if you're a PC user. It's only on Macintosh. It is a one-time lifetime fee, just like DaVinci. Is you pay the $300 and then you have it as long as Final Cut exists. Now, I was a Final Cut editor for 10 years. And then they changed the basic layout of it and I didn't like it. So I switched to Adobe Premiere and it took a little bit of getting used to it and no big deal. Now I'm a Premiere. It's apples and oranges. When we get into our Final Cut X, we'll talk about the difference, and media asset management is really a big change between X and Premiere. And we'll talk about what that means in the future. And then DaVinci Resolve, the Pro, it's free. Base model is free. That's, hey, I haven't said free yet, but there are elements that you'll hit your learning plateau and then you'll be like, hey, I need to pay because they like the app model. The base is free, but if you want the bells and whistles, you got to pay $300. Yeah, $300 for that one too. So that being said, put that in your cost analysis and know that, like, hey, at the very least, all of them have free options that'll get you through at least 1 month of the class, and you can decide whether or not you like X, Y, or Z. Okay. All right. This is an introductory course on post-production filmmaking, emphasis on non-linear editing. Students will learn industry standard software, which I've mentioned. Students will learn to manipulate digital video for a variety of products and learn how to mix audio, including Foley, ADR, and numerous other projects. There'll be an emphasis on conceptual and stylistic issues related to non-linear editing. So a fancy way to say, I'm going to teach you to be a good editor and know what a good edit is and what a bad edit is. And really, I think that the best editors are people who consume content. So and I think the best filmmakers are people who consume content because they know or have seen things. That means I expect you to, after you're taking this class, you'll be watching things differently, because you'll be watching the edits. That's one of the good and bads of being an editor, is I will sit and watch a movie and be like, oh man, this, like, I'm not paying attention to the story because I'm like, why'd they do this? Or like, hey, I'm confused because they jump cut, or I'll watch a movie. Let's see, I was watching the movie Queer by the director of Challengers, with Daniel Craig, and they had some really awesome match cuts in it, and we'll talk about what match cuts are in the future. So I'm a consumer of content. I consume a lot of content, so I'm happy to share. So always, I may ask at the beginning of class, hey, what are we watching? Your grade is based off 1,000 points, 200 points for weekly discussions, and that's even for all students. So if you're joining us only online, joining us on Zoom, or joining us here in class, you're getting 200 points of your grade is based off of weekly discussions, which are posted on Canvas. So after we're done with the lectures, we can log in on a Canvas and fill in our lectures, but it's going to be based off of what I'm talking about and your thoughts. You're going to need to do a thoughtful response and then comment on at least 2 other students' work to get full participation points, if that makes sense. You'll get 100 points for a green screen project. What's that? We'll be learning about green screen, AKA chroma keying, and learning how to do that non-linear within our editors, how to remove a chroma or a color from our image, and we'll have some fun doing our green screen project. 500 points is your final project, and 200 points for the final exam. What's your final project? We'll talk about that, but essentially all semester long, consider you have been assigned your final project, which will be your editing project that showcases the skills that you learn all semester long. What does that mean? If you're if you're a film student in one of my film classes and you have something that you filmed, consider this the resource to edit and turn in what you have edited. If you want to shoot something this semester, use that as your final project. You want to do a music video, I'm completely open. We'll talk about that. And also, what's even great, Tim, I don't know what I want to do. I don't have anything. I don't have any footage. Do you have some footage? Guess what? I have so much footage. I'll give you something to edit, and it won't even be garlic related. Okay. I'll give you past student films that we have. Some students don't want. I always encourage you, create your own content. We all hopefully have our own phones or cameras that we can shoot something, and use this class, especially the final, as a resource to turn in something. Otherwise, I'll give you something that we've shot years ago, or students shot years ago, and it'll be interesting. The final exam, which is fun, is not only a written test, but it's an editing test as well. You'll show up, I will hand you footage and tell you to edit. You will, by the way, you'll have 2 weeks to do it. But what's fun is everybody gets the same footage and we all watch everybody's final edits to see how you interpreted the footage. And you can edit it any way you want. So keep that in mind. That one's really fun. All right, lectures and screening process. Monday and Wednesdays will be Zoom, in person or here in the computer lab. Labs are basically once I'm done yakking at you, you will say, get going on the computers and you can use the lab time as much as you want. Zoomers, you can stay on Zoom and ask me questions. You can share your screen. What I do like to do is encourage all of you to share your edits. So if you have something edited or you finish something, we will watch them in class together and I'll offer you constructive criticism as well as your fellow classmates. So we are just all in the same position where we will show our edits and offer feedback. What is constructive criticism? Well, first of all, there's only one person you can say this to. If I show you something and I ask for your feedback, you can say, wow, Tim, that sucked. But otherwise, we're not saying that to anybody else. You can tell me I'm bad or whatever. I'm not going to hurt my feelings. In fact, that's the only time I feel alive is when someone tells me I've been bad. What I mean is we're going to be like, okay, constructive criticism is, think of the golden rule, treat others how you want to be treated. So if it was me, I'd say like, oh, that was like, okay, so we watched something and it's like, you don't get it, or, hey, that good job. But why did you choose this? Ask questions. Like it's not about being mean, right? We're not just going to say, if you think something's bad, you can, there's a tactful way of saying it. It's like, I'm confused. I don't understand why you made this choice. And then the person can be like, well, I didn't know what I was doing, so it came out this way. Or, yeah, no, I know it's not as I intended. I'm working on that section, right? Like those are good constructive ways to talk about it. And we'll talk about it more when we watch more stuff. All right, and in fact, I'm gonna like, on Wednesday, I'll even have examples of some bad editing. We'll watch like famous bad movie edits and talk about why they're bad. So those are, anything I present to you, you can tell, like you can tell me, hey, that's bad. And but then guess what? If you say, Tim, that's bad, I'll be like, why do you think it's bad? And then you're gonna have to like elaborate anyway. Okay, my office hours. Now, again, like I said, I'm on campus from 2:20 to 5 on Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and then my hours vary. I'm on campus on those times, on those 3 days. On Thursdays, I'll be in the TV studio, which is right over here, if you're not familiar with the TV studio. But I am also on campus on Fridays, but that varies based off of. Otherwise, you can text me at any time or email me anytime and I'll respond within 24 hours. All right, we got our learning outcomes for the class. And then, okay, all of that, I'm not going to showcase yet because that's teacher view. You'll see the discussions will populate, and you'll also see that on our modules, let's go home. All right, here's there's an awesome picture of me. Here's, make sure to check on your homepage. It's got resources. It's got about contacting me, information about the class. If you have other informations or other questions or comments. Also, if we go into our modules here, oops, clicking all the wrong ones. You'll see the first week will look something like this. And just note that the class Zooms, once I'm done recording, I will upload it by the usually early by the next day. So if you are watching at home, expect it Tuesday for this recording, this class to go up, and then Thursday for Wednesday's recordings to go up. You will also see that each class will also have things that maybe we haven't discussed in class. Otherwise, other editing examples, things to watch that are beneficial. So if you're in class, feel free to just check in. I have some editing terms that are great to look at, some great editing examples, including some of our old student showcases. Now, I'm going to use this opportunity to promote our film program yet again. Our film program's great, full of really extremely talented students. Big cash. That's a reference to our 72-hour film competition, which what we just had. Our first place team won $1,000. Our second place team, who several people are in this class, won something like 400 combined, right?
We're wondering that too. We did not know what the number was.
Yeah, good. Well, you got 300 for second place. And then I think it was a $200 gift card. Yeah. So, which I think Grant said he'd just give you cash if you'd prefer that too. So, but that being said, not everything we do is for cash. That was just our thing that we do. We do it every January during winter break. But what I really want to talk about is this spring, and I believe it's April 10th. In fact, let me look this up. Yeah, I'll know the exact date right here. Oh, looks like it's April 26th. Is the Gavilan Student Film Showcase. This is the culmination of all the work of the film students throughout the year. What's great about this for why I'm telling you about this in class? Well, what's great is I believe in extra credit, and I believe in everyone here who is an editor should come to that. Yes,
Saturday?
it's a Saturday.
Oh.
Yeah. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it in person?
Oh, maybe. Well, yes, the fall showcase is on a weekend. Everything else is usually on a Friday. So Saturday, the 26th is the film showcase. We actually nominate best film, there's a best editing award. So realistically, I'm going to tell you right now that April 5th is the last day you can submit something to the Gavilan Film Festival. So if you want something to be considered, something you edit in here, you could submit. It's all student work. It's about 2 hours. We're going to watch films that are produced throughout the last calendar year. One second. And then we give out our awards, and the awards are called the Gavies, and they're actually physically these really cool crystal awards. Sometimes they're misspelled, but not often. But what's great is then if you're nominated, your name goes on a plaque, and the plaque lives in the TV studio, which I can take people over to showcase, but it has all of the nominees every year, as well as the winners. And we have one Gavi award winner here, I believe. Did you win best editing?
No.
See, didn't take this class before, obviously. Marty here in class won best director, best film, and best script. There you go. Not editing though. Sorry. Jason got that maybe, probably.
I didn't edit anyone.
Yeah, there you go. Well, we'll see what happens with which. Or this semester, whatever you're turning in, hopefully. I hope you're encouraged, and just know that I will offer extra credit opportunities, as well as if you participate in some of the other film, sometimes we need extras. There'll be extra credit opportunities. So if you're worried about your grade, I'm more worried about your edits. I want to see good edits. If you come to class, if you participate, I wouldn't worry about your grade. I believe that filmmaking is an art and a technical skill. So it's art and science combined. So what does that mean? That means that here in editing class, we are focusing more on the technical skill of understanding, but also it's an artistic endeavor. So if I go to you and say like, hey, I don't understand why you made this choice, and you just be like, well, to me, it speaks to me, and I made this choice because I think it's the right choice. I'll say, okay, I'm not going to say like F because you like made a choice that I didn't agree with. I can totally disagree with you. And if you're happy with your own film, then that's the most important thing. As long as I feel like, I'm an editor first and foremost, and I feel like the hardest part of editing something that you love or you are putting all yourself into is knowing when to stop, because I feel like art's not ever finished, it's abandoned. And so we have to put in so many hours, and you can put in a lot of hours for editing. Okay. Okay, so you can see right here, experience and project. I'm going to click into here and showcase. Here is the discussion for this week. What software have you used? What type of projects have you done? What are your strengths? What specifically would you like to learn this semester? Also tell me what type of projects you want to do this semester. If you want your project to possibly run in the showcase, you need to have it completed by April 1st. Ooh, I gave you 3 extra days in class, okay? All other projects are due on the last day of class. So we can continue to do that. We already have some other classmates who have responded already. So then for full credit, you need to respond and comment on at least 2 other people's work. You'll get partial credit if you don't respond. Also, I'm going to tell you right now, if ever you're late or here, let's stop sharing right now just so I can be on the screen. If ever you're late or you're going to miss class, I would appreciate it if you'd message me and let me know why you're not there, especially within the first 2 weeks of school. If you haven't done a discussion, if you haven't responded or I haven't seen you in person, I'm going to assume you're dropping the class. So I expect the students to participate. Now, you can say, hey, I've been sick or there's been an emergency, and I'm a lifelong student. I've been in classes. I've took classes over this winter break. I know what it's like to have a life. So I will totally understand. And I will tell you right now, I am open. I know how much effort goes into editing. So if you're like, hey, Tim, I'm in the class, I'm editing. I'm going to get to this discussion a couple weeks late. Fine. I'll grade anything up into the last day. I can no longer change your grades. Okay, so just let me know. Hey, I went back and adjusted your score, but I will be grading weekly. You'll see your scores populate, and if you have any questions or comments about that, feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to explain. But pretty much, either you did it or you didn't do it, or either you may have lost points just for not being thoughtful or giving me one sentence, where a thoughtful response, I would say, is at least 3 sentences if you want to be that way. Okay. But thoughtfulness, you could make one really long sentence that hits everything. Are there questions or comments so far? Today is basically, we're going to go over the syllabus and I'm going to show you some editing examples. We'll watch some what I think are really good examples from film and movies. So feel free to ask questions now. If not, we're going to watch maybe 10 minutes worth of editing. Yes.
How many movies have you seen this year already?
Okay. Follow me on Letterboxd. It's in my bio. Feel free. I meant to say this as well. If for any reason my intention is to be as inclusive as possible. So I respect your pronouns. I respect you as a person. If I use the wrong name because I'm looking at how you're registered, maybe that's not, let me know if you go by a different name, or if you go by different, if you don't have your pronouns listed, I misgender you, please let me know. I'm happy. Well, I will apologize and I'll do my best to remember. I have a lot of students and I do my best. So if I mess up, I'm gonna apologize right now, and I'll apologize to the person. Just let me know. I don't want to make these mistakes. So, does that make clear? Good. Yeah. Okay. How many movies? Well, I like Letterboxd, where like I said, I consume content. Right. I have seen 37 movies this year. It's January. It's a little light. Most notably, I just watched Nora, which is nominated for Best Picture. I've seen 6 of the 10 Best Picture nominees. I can give you my ranking if you're interested, as what I've seen. Yeah, Santi.
What did you think about the editing in Megalopolis?
The editing in Megalopolis. It was interesting. I mean, honestly, that movie was so much that it's hard to like pinpoint if I thought the editing was good or bad by itself, because there's so many other elements that like just cooked my brain. It's a movie I thought about a lot, though. I don't think it was good, but yeah, Megalopolis, which is the Francis Ford Coppola movie that he self-financed. It's the most expensive indie movie ever. And I think he spent like 300 million, sold part of his wine empire. Yeah, no.
An actual question.
Sure.
Instead of the one that I asked originally.
Oh, I think that was the most serious question asked, is how many movies? Because I'm like, what am I going to watch tonight? And yeah.
How much do you think editing can elevate, like the saying is you can only polish a turd so much,
Sure.
and it's still a turd. How much do you think good editing can elevate something that is otherwise weak?
I can tell you right now that, and this is something that Grant and I disagree vehemently on. Vehemently? Yes, thank you. That way, pronounced that way. I extremely believe this. I think the editor is the most important role in filmmaking, because I think the editor has the ultimate control. Whereas, like, I think that you can shine a turd. I think that movies have failed because of editing choices and have succeeded because of editing choices. Could Megalopolis, a 90-minute version of Megalopolis, be good? Maybe. I mean, definitely, I think it could be more interesting. I think what's fun to think about is a movie which I like, but I think people didn't like when it came out, was The Phantom Menace, which was George Lucas. And Topher Grace, the actor, actually is famous because he wanted to learn editing. So he did what was called the Phantom Edit. And he basically cut a version of Phantom Menace, which people who've seen it says works a lot better. He basically took a lot of like the Trade Federation stuff out and made it more faster and less boring, basically cut down a lot of Jar Jar, I think, too, to make a better edit. I think what we are looking at right now is, have any of you heard of the movie Mickey 17?
Yeah.
It's Bong Joon-ho. Sorry. Bong Joon-ho. Sorry, I'm dyslexic, so I'll say it backwards. And then because of my dyslexia, I feel not confident. So Bong Joon-ho, thank you. Bong Joon-ho, director of Parasite, Best Picture Parasite, as well as Snowpiercer and Okja, and really, really interesting director is this Robert Pattinson. I'm not going to pull it up because the people on Zoom aren't looking. Mickey 17 is his latest film. And what's really fascinating about it, I think, is it was due to come out about a half a year ago, and they keep pushing it off and pushing it off and pushing it off. And I think the studio doesn't understand it, because of the filmmaker is his most of the story involved class. And if you watch the first trailer versus the second trailer, they put out a new trailer and I'm like, oh no, I think they're recutting it to make it a wacky comedy. because the first one is like, ooh, sci-fi adventure, a guy keeps getting killed. The second one's like, oh, look at him, look at all the weird ways he dies, and he's a copy. And I think that they don't understand the movie, or they don't know how to market the movie. So they're like, we're gonna go comedy, whereas like I'm sure it has funny elements, but is it gonna be a comedy? Now I haven't seen it, so who knows? But that's my instinct, just seeing the edit. So I think that editing has ultimate power to shape. You're going to shape, and you can take a movie, and I'm sure we've all seen maybe those trailers of, it's like The Shining, but it's a romantic comedy where it's like, yeah, changing music, changing intent. I mean, there's full on intent, and there, some of the best movies are ones that are like, like think of Inception. What if they chose the end frame to go a little bit longer, and we saw whether or not the top falls over or not, right? That's an editing choice. Is like, do they want to know where does the movie end? And I know that audience get frustrated when it's like an ambiguous ending, but I love that stuff. That's like all for me. So any other questions, comments, concerns? Yeah, I love editing. I think editing's the absolute most fun. All right, let's take a look. I'm going to showcase. I'm going to ask someone to turn off the lights here, please. And we're going to watch. Oh, I should share my screen. Let's watch some fun editing. We're going to start with Hot Fuzz, which if you don't know, I gotta share sound. All right, there we go. All right, let's do that. And then great. And now let's do this. And here we go. I'll talk after.
To do their best work with Grammarly's.
Angel, can you hear it?
Yeah, I can hear it perfectly.
Okay.
Comprehensive AI writing assistants. What if they could jumpstart ideas?
Police Constable Nicholas Angel, born and schooled in London, graduated Canterbury University in 1993 with a double first in politics and sociology, attended Hendon College of Police Training, displayed great aptitude in field exercises, notably urban pacification and riot control, academically excelled in theoretical coursework and final year examinations, received the Baton of Honor, graduated with distinction into the Metropolitan Police Service, quickly established an effectiveness and popularity within the community,
Use your brain.
proceeded to improve skill base with courses in advanced driving and advanced cycling. Became heavily involved in a number of extra-vocational activities. To this day holds the Met record for the 100-meter dash. In 2001 began active duty with the renowned SO-19 Armed Response Unit. Received a Bravery Award for efforts in the resolution of Operation Crackdown. In the last 12 months has received 9 special commendations, achieved the highest arrest record for any officer in the Met, and sustained 3 injuries in the line of duty, most recently in December, when wounded by a man dressed as Father Christmas.
对承诺的福利难以使用感到沮丧吗？
All right. Okay. What do we think of that? That was awesome. Why do you think that's awesome, Santi?
I think it too is because, what's the director's name? Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright, he already has like a really like style, like visual style.
Absolutely. He's what we call an auteur. An auteur is a director who has a definitive style. So there's some movies you can watch and be like, hey, this feels like it was directed by whoever you feel like is an auteur. Most directors, if they've made a certain amount of films, have a stylistic intent. That's what an auteur is. Same with Edgar Wright's editing style is similar, which is part of his visual style as well. So, and what else? What did we else notice about? Yeah, no.
I think there's a very pronounced humor with the pace of the edits and cuts that's paired with the voiceover.
Yeah. So have you seen Hot Fuzz? Yeah. So it's a comedy, action comedy though, right? So the editing style not only goes, a lot of the edits help the humor, but also it helps showcase that, hey, this is an action style, right? A lot of frenetic cutting, a lot of quick pace, a lot of layering. And yeah, like when we saw him talk about extracurricular activities, it's posed that he's learning judo and then another a contact sport, and then we get the chess, right? Like is the joke there, or Father Christmas stabbing him with a knife, or I think just Simon Pegg looking at the camera the whole time is hilarious. Also goes with the style of narration and the audio. That's all elements within the editing. And Edgar Wright, for those who are familiar with his other work, is very much music and editing to the beats are really important. This is like, did anybody count how many edits there were in this piece? Guess? Oh, you're close. Yeah, no, it was, I mean, it was over 60 by my count, easily. So, and that was like a 2-minute piece, right? So lots of editing. Editing helps solve action. We didn't actually see him get stabbed, but the edit let us think he got stabbed, right? It's a good way to hide elements like that. So good or bad, it's definitely a style, right? Like quick paced. Angel, any thoughts on that?
Honestly, I didn't think it was a comedy in action. I thought it was straight action. And so
Sure.
with the music, I was kind of laughing a bit, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting too is that for sure is one of the things is, yeah, it's inherently funny because it is, so he's being over serious, right? Like there. So yeah, that's a comedy. It's part of his what he calls the Cornello trilogy, which is Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and At World's End. And I would recommend I've never seen Last Night in Soho, but I've heard it's not great, but Baby Driver's worth a watch if you can put up with seeing Kevin Spacey. So that's
Ah,
only yeah, there you go. I think what was Jamie Foxx canceled too, possibly. Oh, and the other guy's canceled in Baby Driver also. Yeah, the Baby Driver. What's an Ansel Elgort? So I'm gonna try one more thing. I think, okay. We should have heard the audio, but okay. It didn't come out of the speakers, right? It was just coming out of my laptop. Or did you hear, I'm talking to people here in class. Just came out of my laptop. Okay. I wanted to make sure I wasn't going crazy. All right, there's more garlic, as you can see. All right. Let's watch one more before we call it wraps for today. And this will be, yeah, you know what's coming up?
He's so old when he does this.
All right, let's hold on. Let me share this. All right, we'll watch another action movie. Let's share. Okay, it came out of the speakers when I played it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Is it gonna? All right, let's watch. Let's watch this. This is a joke. Okay. This is a meme. Sorry. That's part of the joke. All right. Is this the normal one? 7 seconds. Yeah. All right. Okay. How many cuts? Well, let's watch. Let's count. Yeah, 14. 14 is about right in 7 seconds. Okay, so obviously, was this good editing or bad editing?
That
It's
was very bad editing.
Yeah, okay. So this is notably what's considered bad editing. And why? It's just so much like they're trying to make something of climbing a fence seem super action paced, right? Like you could even argue like, hey, this is as many edits as we got in the Hot Fuzz trailer, right? Like they were cutting as quick as that. Well, the intent here is like, yeah, Noah, you brought up he's old. Liam Neeson's an old guy. So, and we even see he's backlit at one point. So is that even him climbing the fence? I would argue if we watch it again, it's probably a stuntman climbing the fence and he's backlit. You can't see his face. So are they hiding that they didn't actually have him jump a fence? They probably wouldn't. They wouldn't want him to like break his foot and like then stop filming. But is there a way to do this and cut it so it's not so intense, right? Maybe. What were you gonna say, Noah? Sorry.
This scene is very often compared to a scene in the movie Speed with Keanu Reeves, where Keanu Reeves jumps over a fence and they don't cut at all.
Sure. Yeah.
It's just this is a case of like the editing trying to do too much to cover up something like that, where they could have probably just shown him like go up to the choice at like landing on the street or like landing on the ground or something.
Yeah, absolutely. There would have been a different way to cut it. And really, I think they probably felt like they made that choice because we're like in the chase scene, let's make it more exciting.
Yeah.
You can tell by the music that it's a chase scene and he's being chased by a helicopter. You can hear that sound effect. So it's like, oh, we just got to keep the intensity level up, even though it's just a guy jumping over a fence, which is a weird choice. Here, this is not an action film. Let's watch this if you haven't seen this already.
Yes, midday, have a cup, don't be drunk. Look a bit nervous, Brian. John, I'm fine. Usually so put together. Just got to be cool. Wow. I didn't know it was fancy dress, Fred.
I've got to make an impression, darling.
You look like an angry lizard. It's your best work. Very subtle. You're gonna fly away. Can I borrow it for Sunday church?
So this is Queen. And you must be Freddie Mercury. You've got a gift. You all have. So tell me, what makes Queen any different from all of the other wannabe rock stars I meet?
I'll tell you what it is. We're four misfits who don't belong together, playing to the other misfits. The outcasts, right at the back of the room, who are pretty sure they don't belong either. We belong to them.
We're a family.
But no two of us are the same.
Paul Printer, meet Queen, our new signing. Paul will be looking after you day to day.
Pleasure.
If I can get you on the radio, maybe I can get you on television.
Top of the pops.
Hopefully.
And then?
And then, it's only the biggest television program in the country. No one's ever even heard of you. Look, I admire your enthusiasm. If it goes well, if it happens, I've got a promotional tour of Japan in mind.
We'll want more.
Every band wants more.
Every band's not Queen.
Okay, okay. All right. What do we think of that one?
We don't need every reaction.
Yeah, there's a good video about that. Watching that movie? Oh, it's not a good movie. I mean, no offense if you like, everyone's up to, I speak firmly about my opinions of movies. And if you like something that I didn't like, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm jealous. I wish I liked the movie I wish I liked all movies. But I'll tell you why. So watching that scene, do we think I mean, obviously I kind of tipped our hands about how I feel about it, but do you think that's good editing or bad editing? Or why?
It felt like,
Drawn out, you think?
I wouldn't say like disconnected, because it's like, he's like, okay, so you're a queen, but there's only 3 members. There's one member who's totally isolated. And then some other reaction shots are kind of just.
Yeah, like Marty said, all the reaction shots, to me, this really felt like they thought the scene was boring. And so they're like, you know what, edits will make it not boring. Let's just keep cutting to everybody's face. Like, do we need that many? Like, a reaction shot is like, I am pregnant, and then you cut to the person reacting to it so that you know how they feel. But do you know how any of these people in this scene feel? When it's like they're reacting to what? The guy sitting down, the guy reacting to them saying they're queen or whatever they're wanting. It's just a meeting of characters, and they're just trying to convey something. And I really think that, why do we choose to do this many reaction shots? Well, those of us who have filmed things know that sometimes we need reaction shots. Why? To make an edit between one take and another take. Maybe our actor, we like part of the first sentence and part of the second sentence, so we need to cut to something. Maybe they're hiding multiple bad actors in this scene. Maybe they just think it's boring and they want to cut it up. Now, what's the most fascinating part of this video we just watched? That's an Oscar award-winning editor. They won Best Editing for that movie. Now, not for that scene per se. I think that when people think of this movie, they think of the final 30 minutes, which is a very, it's basically a film version of a concert where they kept the edits as similar as possible to the original concert. So I think that's where people who watched the movie and judged it didn't remember something like this. But I find, especially watching it on a big screen, that scene's kind of nauseating to me. There's just so much, it's too much. And really what I want you to get is, by the end of this class, we should watch something and be like, that felt good, or it didn't feel good. Like, I think the best edits are ones that we don't even realize. Like, I think the best edits are so natural that you're like, oh, it changed shots and I didn't realize it, right? Like, it's such a good edit that you like. When we watch a film, the number one thing we're going for is what's called the suspension of disbelief. And that's the concept of, we as movie going audiences have to accept that, like, hey, we're entering a world that's not our own, because we're sitting there watching something on the screen for 2 hours in a dark theater. And if we suspend our disbelief, then we can accept that, hey, there's this thing called the Matrix, or hey, you know, Harold and Kumar are going to White Castle, or hey, we're watching a movie that takes place and Ron Burgundy is Anchorman, or whatever movie it is. We have to accept that that's the reality that we're watching, that it's not our actual world, because even if it like is a movie that takes place and is based on things that are actually in our lives, well, we have to still accept there's a suspension of disbelief because we're watching something that's edited, that time's going to jump, right? Like we're going to see our character progress from scene to scene. If I walk out that door in the movie of my life, the next scene could be at my house, and then I'm going to suspend the disbelief that I just didn't magically teleport there, but that passage of time has happened because my character has moved from one place to another. Does that make sense? Suspension of disbelief. So with editing, we control that suspension of disbelief. And the number one sin that a movie can do when we're in the movie theater is make us think about, I'm watching a movie, right? Like the worst thing you can do when you're watching, you want to be so into the story and the characters and the acting that you forget about your real life and you're in that movie. You're watching Wicked and you're like, wow, the Wicked Witch had a lot going on in her life, leading up to the movie. But if you're thinking about, oh, that was a bad edit, that's broken your suspension of disbelief. You're no longer immersed in the movie and you're thinking about, oh, that was a bad, or those edits took me out. And I start thinking about why'd they make this choice? And I'm not thinking about Queen and them meeting their manager or whatever. Okay, let's hit the lights. We're gonna, those are examples. We'll probably watch examples of different types of edits moving forward. Thank you for getting the lights. And that's gonna be it for the Zoom recording. That's gonna pretty much be it for the first class when we're on Wednesday. We'll get into actual editing and seeing software, but use this opportunity to sign up for free trials, choose what software you want to do. Come here in person if you want to use the facilities, or, oh, shoot, the other thing I wanted to say, forgot to mention that everyone should have an external hard drive that they bring to class. If you're coming to class at home, you can choose whether or not, but an external hard drive is going to be a way that I can transfer you media, but also all of these computers here, the second you log out, they delete everything that's saved on the computer. So if you're going to work with your footage, you need to have an external hard drive that you can plug into these computers. And so you need like a USB-C adapter. These don't have USB-Cs on these computers. So you'll need to go to USB 2, FYI, just a heads up. On Canvas, I have put in a link to a hard drive that I think is consider the hard drive the book then. If you have an external hard drive, great. If you want to get one, the ones that I recommend are these Lacy drives. They have a protector, so if you drop them, it's not going to kill them. They're solid state. They're about $50 to $60 based off of, you can get them at Best Buy, you can get them on Amazon, but for sure you need an external hard drive to have your media. Okay. I can answer questions about that as well. I should have said that at the beginning. But yeah, external hard drive, that is on the syllabus. I just forgot to read that part. So, all right. I'm going to end, Angel, I'm going to end the Zoom, but you don't have to hang up. I'm just going to end the recording. I'm going to stop it now.
Alrighty.